people never leave organization, they leave managers.
All right.
One is referral, very, very powerful. That you know somebody within the company that you want to, you know that there is a position. Ask that person to refer to you.
Correct.
Explore your community. Explore people that you're connected to on LinkedIn. Explore people that are there in your network. I have seen students who come for 2 months internship. पूरे ऑफिस में किसी को नहीं पता चलता है कि वो दौड़ने के लिए भी आए थे, क्या करके गए. They will respect you for the knowledge and the skill that you bring. Understand that there are hundreds of resume that the person gets. How is it that you present yourself authentically? Authentic is a very key word here. You are directly influencing the life of your employee. It's not.
Absolutely.
Gone are the days when we used to say कि personal world अलग है, professional world अलग है, ये सब कुछ नहीं होता है.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Geeks for Geeks podcast. Today we are thrilled to have Snehshika, a human resources representative from Amazon with us. She's here to discuss about the art of crafting a resume, and she'll also be discussing a few tips which can help you out to crack tech giants like Amazon itself. So first of all, welcome Shika. Thanks for being a part of this podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Sachin. I'm doing great and so good to be here. I feel a very positive energy talking to you guys, and I hope that I'm able to add some value to your audience who's watching this.
Thank you so much. So to begin with, you're having wealth of experience into the world of human resources. So what do you think are the key, things which a candidate needs to keep in mind while, structuring his or her resume?
I think that's a very, very interesting question, and that is where many people go wrong. I will not only talk about students, I will talk about experienced professionals. People have been in the industry for 10 years, 20 years.
Correct.
See, you have to understand from the perspective of the person who's reading your resume, right?
Okay.
What is it that the person is looking for? Mm-hmm. Understand that the person has the urgency of closing that position.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that there are hundreds of resume that the person gets. Mm-hmm. How is it that you present yourself authentically? Authentic is a very key word here. How do you present yourself authentically in a crisp manner, with the constraint of a paper? So you are not even there. It is a piece of paper or whatever, an email that will land into the recruiter's box. Yeah. How is it that you make it crisp? Yeah. Typically what I tell students, and this is a question that I normally also get, and why I'm speaking about it, so deeply is because I have been to campuses where I had 2 positions to close and the number of students who applied were
in hundreds.
100, 200, 300, and it can be anything, right? Nowadays colleges have large batch sizes, etc., right? So, how do you consolidate your experience? How do you talk about your key highlights without being verbose? So, the words to notice here are verbose, authentic, crisp, yet impressive. Yeah. So it's a very fine line that, the students have to think through. Now, if you are a fresher, you will typically not have too much to write on your resume, and that's okay.
Of course.
You don't have to write projects for the sake of writing projects.
Correct.
Lying on resume is a strict no. Don't write anything which you have not done.
So basically your mention should be backed with some certifications or your skills at least.
Yes. If you're saying writing a project that, I worked for this company and I solved this problem. Yeah. Talk about the scale of the problem that you solved. Correct. Talk about the size of the company.
Talk in numbers, basically.
Talk in numbers. Talk about the impact that you created. What is the story that is coming out from your from the one line that you have written about your project?
Correct.
What is it talking about your skill set? Did you manage too many stakeholders? Did you manage a large scale operations? Were you able to solve a very niche problem? That is something that you have to probably summarize in 2 lines. Okay.
Correct.
And if you're a fresher, you don't have anything that you can write, please don't write. It's okay to not do projects for the sake of getting certifications that can just go on your CV without you having actually done anything.
Correct.
Right?
So what you're trying to say is chase knowledge, not the certifications.
Yes. I mean, very, very aptly you summarized what I was trying to say. And hence your resume should be something that gives an impression that gives an insight to a recruiter into the skill set and is catchy enough. So one of the things which I also tell students is understand the position that you're applying for. Like a position A and a position B probably cannot have the same CV. You have to tweak it according to the requirement of the job and highlight the things that is probably, relevant to one job, which might not be relevant to another job, right? And the things on, positions of responsibility or extracurricular activities, it is considered a very trivial thing to write, or it is not given the due attention when you're crafting those sections of your resume. Please give that due attention. It speaks a lot about your leadership capability if you were a head girl or a head boy in your school, or if you captained a cricket team. It gives me an insight as a recruiter that you have the experience of handling a team, or you have the experience of handling tough situations, talking to, if you were the head boy in your school, that probably tells me that you were talking to the principal more than the other students, right?
Exactly.
So those sections have to be very carefully, pointed out. When it comes to your academics, sequencing, how to sequence your experience.
Absolutely. Correct. You was coming on to
that is also very important. When you talk about your academic achievements, please don't shy away from writing what you have done, but there's a very fine line, like I said, in being boastful and in being articulate.
Correct. So basically in this new age of data consumption, content consumption basically. So where do you come from in this thing? Should we write into big paragraphs, or the points should be well articulated as you mentioned?
No big paragraphs. That's a strict no. Nobody has the time to read that story.
Correct.
Bullet pointers are I feel that a nice, probably, at the end of your podcast, you can probably give a good resume sampling and share that with you. Tables are a welcome.
All right.
Bullet points are a welcome. Sections, your resume divided into sections are a very welcome thing. So these are some of the pointers that you should keep in mind. Keep in mind highlighting bold may highlighting what are the key things. Even within a line, highlighting things within bold is a very welcome move that catches your attention.
So you are having such experience into HR. If I ask you a number of resumes on an average which an HR goes through on day-to-day basis, what the number would be?
So I was into talent acquisition and campus hiring 2 years back. Okay. And I'm sure that the scenario might have changed. Much would not have changed. But like I mentioned, when I used to go for campus hiring, if I had like 5 to 6 positions, sometimes I had to filter through about 600 to 700 CVs.
600 to 700 CVs a day.
Yeah. So that is where companies get into the process of elimination. So they consolidate all that data into an Excel sheet. They have their criteria fixed. Then the next stage is probably an assessment test.
All right.
That is basically an effort to reduce the recruiter's bandwidth going through each of
filtration
the
process.
Now in the day and age of AI and ChatGPT, I'm sure that
the ATS process.
Yeah, the application tracking systems that you're talking about. There are ways where you search resumes by keywords.
Correct.
There are ways where you search resumes by skill set. I still feel that there is a long way to go when it comes to this. I still feel that there is a lot of human intervention that goes there.
Yeah.
Our ATS systems are yet not very evolved that if I upload 100 resumes, it will pick up the 2 best. I don't trust it that much, at least in this point in time.
So I believe the students would get the idea of, with the numbers which I was talking about, like how many resumes you go through in a day. I was just trying to bring this thing out that how much time does an HR have on a single resume to look at it.
Sure.
Yeah. So basically, as ma'am correctly mentioned about, you have to articulate your things in a very, solid manner with the numbers, with keeping numbers in mind, right? So I believe that would be very helpful. So it's a solid advice. So moving ahead from the resumes, if I talk about interviews, so can you elaborate students a bit what they can expect in an interview, how the interviews lead?
Got it. So I will probably divide it into two parts so that it is easier for students to absorb. First step, whenever you are applying to any company, where a lot of people go wrong, is have you read the job description correctly?
Absolutely.
Have you read about the company correctly? That is absolute basic when you sort of apply to any job. Okay. Interview is still once your CV is shortlisted. So the first part that you covered, right? That you have to have a very good. You have to make a very good impression with the CV when you are sending it.
Correct.
Now, when you come to interview process, the first basic is when you go into the interview, you should be absolutely clear about what was the job description. It is not expected of you to know exactly the nitty-gritties of, how your day will look like if you get that job.
Absolutely.
But you should definitely know what does the company do and what was written in the job description.
Yeah.
You should have an opinion about what does the company do? Like a basic check on the background of the company, the scale of operations probably. Okay, so that is your P0, which will not take you honestly more than 20 to 30 minutes, but it can make a very good lasting impression. It shows that you have put in effort while applying for that job, right?
Certainly.
Now, interview process, typically for tech profiles, will consist of about for companies like Amazon, 3 to 5 to 6, 7 rounds even, right?
Okay.
In the interview process, whether it's a tech interview, whether it's an HR interview, whether you are speaking to the CEO of the company, one rule remains constant, which I probably highlighted also in your interview part, in your CV part: do not lie. Try to understand the question first.
Yeah.
Be a good listener and do not lie.
Correct.
Put it in your head before you walk into the interview room that I will not lie. It's okay to not know some answers. It's okay to say that, or it's okay to say that I have limited knowledge about this particular subject that you are asking. In the excitement of impressing, quote unquote, impressing the person who is interviewing you, right?
Yeah.
Students or, even professionals have a tendency of projecting themselves probably what they're not.
Correct.
Understand that interview is a two-way process. While the company is assessing you, you are also assessing the company. So
Correct.
look at it from that lens. I often call internship and interview like a courtship period.
Yeah.
Before you actually get married, it is your chance to know about the company before, and a very big chance for you to not make mistakes. Why are you applying to any job? One reason for it, because you are probably not in the best of shape in the place that you are, and hence it's an aspiration for you to move to another company. Don't get that decision wrong after putting in so many efforts. So ask questions to the interviewer. Also, that if you have any doubts, any clarifications, that is not considered rude, that is not considered arrogant. That is in fact considered that you have researched and you have some questions which you can ask to the interviewer.
Okay.
Now, coming to the main part, where there is actually a conversation and a question answer. A very famous framework is a STAR framework.
Yeah.
Okay?
Correct.
Which basically talks about situation, task, action, and result.
Correct.
Always divide your answers into these 4 parts. Okay? So, what was the situation? What is it? Explain to the interviewer the context of the situation. What was the situation like? Again, what was the scale of the problem? How many people were involved? Give that context. What was the problem statement?
All right.
Then you come to what is it that you did to solve that problem statement? What is it that you did individually? What is it that you influenced other people to do? What were the challenges that you faced when you were, solving that particular problem? And then finally, what was the result that you achieved? So people should always try to structure their answers and not in the excitement of things, that the moment somebody asks me something, I'll just jump on
To
and-
answer.
Yeah, I have to answer it. Think for 30 seconds.
Correct.
What is it that you want to say? And be very, very... Stick to facts. Stick to data. Try to bring out data points from your experience. Try to bring out anecdotes of,
Yeah.
what people had to say about the project, or what is the feedback that you got. Where is it that you went wrong during that project? That's
Correct.
a very good, that gives the interview very good insight that you reflected upon it. What is it that you could have done better in that situation?
Absolutely,
Okay?
yeah.
If these are the things that you bring out, it's a very well-rounded answer then, that you
well-structured.
saw the problem, you did something, you achieved some result. You also know where did you go wrong. You also know what were the challenges, etc. Yeah. So before any interview, probably students should in their mind at least be prepared with 2 or 3 of their, biggest challenging, I would not say the best performing projects,
Yeah.
probably the most challenging projects.
All right.
And also listen to the question of the interviewer and how do you fit in, the examples that you have.
Okay.
If you have any clarifying questions, it's very good practice to ask clarifying questions that, or if you're not able to understand what the person is asking, very good idea to ask clarifying questions, and then get to the answer.
Amazing, amazing. So I guess it's a solid piece of advice for the students as well as working professionals who are having any interviews ahead. So as you mentioned, students or even working professionals, they tend to make mistakes in the interviews, during the interviews. So any other common mistakes which you put a light on, which student or a working professional makes? Some common mistakes which you've, faced yourself, that you've heard yourself.
I am very amazed. I have a lot of amazing stories here, okay?
We are having time.
So, one common mistake is lying.
Okay.
That you try to, before the interview, you try to make something up which you have not done. And the interviewer will, of course, deep dive. He will ask you 10 questions when you give the answer. There will be clarifying questions to understand, what is it that you have done. And that is where you will go wrong if you have not actually done that thing, okay?
Okay.
Please refrain from doing that. Second question is... trying too much to understand what will impress the interviewer. Okay? That's not what a candidate is supposed to do. The candidate is supposed to present his answers in the best possible format, with facts, with data, in a structured manner. So not gauging... People should not try to gauge that what is it that the person is looking for too much. That's the job of the person. If you speak well and if they find out, you will be hired or you will not be hired.
Correct.
Third mistake probably is the CV not being not completely doing justice to the experience of the person. Okay, so the person might be having many other things which probably he has not done in the CV. And then when you go into the interview, you have a conversation, you figure out, and then you're a little disconnected. That CV में तो ये नहीं लिखा है, but आपने ये किया है, or the vice versa. Okay, so your CV should be, like I said, that's a stepping stone into into any interview process. So these are the common 3 mistakes of a candidate.
All right. Great. So I guess the students must have got the idea what not to do in our interview. So moving on, let's talk about the cultures. How do you think a company's culture impact to a fresher, honestly? Let's talk about freshers over here, the newly hired people. How much does a company's culture impact, and what should they do to contribute towards the culture?
Okay. Culture is one of the most misused term. Okay.
Okay.
And, I will sort of try to break it down and might not be exactly relevant to the people who are listening to it, but I'll just try to simplify it so that, what are the 2-3 things people should look out when assessing the culture of an organization. Now, what do you mean by culture?
Okay.
Culture typically means something when I walk into an organization's office or when I talk to anybody from that organization, what is the vibe that I'm getting?
Correct.
Vibe is a Gen Z word. Probably your audience will
Vibe
be,
matters.
Vibe matters. Your people will be able to relate to it.
Yeah.
So, hence coming back to my first point,
Yeah.
research about the company.
Okay.
You have enough and more platforms in today's day of social media and LinkedIn and Glassdoor.
Mm-hmm.
Very unused platform, I would say, that I still feel that, anybody who's in the college, while LinkedIn is making a lot of headway into people who have some experience.
Yeah.
But it's a very good idea for even freshers to use platform like LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
That is a very good insight into a company's culture. Go to the company page or the LinkedIn page. What are the kind of posts that the company is putting?
Correct.
Glassdoor is a very unfiltered, I would say, where you get very unfiltered reviews about the company.
Correct.
So research on Glassdoor about what is it that employees have to say.
Exactly.
There will be mostly people who are not happy are the ones who put experience on Glassdoor.
Yeah.
Take it with a pinch of salt, but take it. I mean, consume that data.
Correct.
It will give you some insight into what is it
The
like
negatives.
to work at that company. There are sections where people highlight what would you recommend the company for and what would you not recommend the company.
Correct. The pros and the cons.
Correct.
Yeah.
So do that research. People should do that research.
All right.
Third and the most major, where you can get red flags or green
Yeah.
flag about whether you should join an organization or not, is the
Yeah.
interview process. Or if you are an intern,
Yeah.
that's a great way to assess the culture of an organization.
Okay.
How is that place making you feel?
Hmm.
Is that putting you in a space of anxiety and intimidation? Is that putting you in a space of comfort and pushing you to, do better in what you're actually doing? Or is it an intimidating kind of place, not welcoming to freshers? Talk to people who have been with that company, your alums, students. Reach out to people randomly on LinkedIn. People do that to me all the time.
Yeah.
They message me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And, if the message is good, I actually engage in a conversation. Okay, so people are willing to help. Explore. So these are probably your 2-3 channels: LinkedIn, Glassdoor, talking to your alums, talking to the current employees or ex-employees who have been there with the company. That will give you a very good insight into what the company culture is. What is company's culture? Again, I'll come back. What does the day of an employee look like?
Yeah.
What is the company's take on work-life balance?
Got it.
What is the company's take on probably career development or learning? Is the company open to giving you cross-functional exposure? Today, you are in sales, I understand.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, if you want to move to HR side of things,
Yeah.
is it something that is encouraged in the company? Okay.
Correct.
So for freshers, now coming back to a question, for freshers, I would suggest that since they are very raw, this is probably their first, corporate experience. Do not worry too much about going wrong. It's okay to go wrong. Sabki pehli job might not be exactly where you wanted to land up. It's perfectly okay to go wrong. What it's not okay is to probably settle for less.
So basically, it's a hit and try scenario.
Yes.
It's a hit
It
and
will of
try
course
sort of
be a
thing.
hit and try
Yeah.
scenario. Otherwise, we would be living in an ideal world. There's no attrition.
Absolutely.
People leave and there is a churn. Some amount of attrition is also healthy.
Yeah.
Freshers are the most difficult cohort to retain, by the way. Okay.
All right.
I have handled graduate trainee programs and management trainee programs of engineers and MBA graduates.
All right.
They are the most difficult cohort to retain. Exactly the apprehensions that you were talking about, that I landed at the wrong place. This is not the role that I typically wanted. This is not the location that I wanted. This is not the right manager where I wanted to be. A lot of ownership for this, and I keep telling it to the people that I talk to. Curating the experience of somebody who's coming out of fresher, a lot of ownership of that lies on the company also. Hence,
Correct.
it is a very good idea to research about other freshers who have gone to that company, what has been their experience like, and if it really suits you. A dream company for me might not be a dream company for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So be that, bringing in that angle of individuality, bringing in that angle of, customization. What is it that I want? And it's okay to not know what you want, so early on in your career. It's okay to experiment. But ask the right questions, do the right research. Don't be afraid to ask, difficult questions. Increase your exposure. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, but
Yeah.
early on in your career, talking to people from diverse fields, talking to people from different kind of companies, really gives you an insight into something that you probably will take years to experience, right?
Yeah.
7 years into my career, maybe probably I've seen a retail space, probably I've seen an e-commerce space. But if a fresher has to make a decision whether I want to go to retail or an e-commerce, what is the information that he has? It's just talking to people. Hence,
Okay.
a very good, a very good idea is to talk to people, talk to seniors in your college network, etc. What is it like working at that company? Ask questions. What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? Would you refer your best friend to that company?
Yeah.
So, research is the key word here.
So here we had a discussion about the freshers. Now, if you are having any kind of suggestions for the people who are there in the industry for a good time, if I talk about managers, me myself being a manager, once I read a quote somewhere and I tried to follow myself that be the managers you always wanted.
Yeah.
Basically, be the manager you always wanted. So, what are you having any kind of suggestions for the people who are there with the team and
Managerial.
yeah, in the managerial stature or people with good number of people are under them or a team with them?
So there's a saying very famous in HR world. It's called people never leave organization, they leave managers.
All right.
So when you are a manager,
Yeah.
you are directly influencing the life of your employee. It's not
Absolutely.
gone are the days when we used to say कि personal world अलग है, professional world अलग है, ये सब कुछ नहीं होता है.
Yeah.
You are directly influencing the life of a person, and that person is in and around you at least 10 to 12 hours of the day.
Absolutely.
So understand your responsibility. Okay.
Yes.
While, it is not, I mean, there are things that we are a family, we are not, nobody cares about that. A good manager, and this is a research from Google, it was called Project Oxygen or
All right.
Oxygen. Psychological safety.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
called psychological safety. How is it that you give your team a psychological safety? Now, I'll break it down for you. Psychological safety means, are you backing your team in difficult times? Are you giving the room to your team to make mistakes?
Okay.
Are you exposing your people to new opportunities, new experiences? How are you making the life of your team members easier? Are you understanding the persona of the person who's in front of you? I mean, I can have a team member who has been born and brought up in Delhi, studied in the best of schools, and I can have a team member probably who's stepping out of his village for the first time.
Correct.
My way of dealing with both of them cannot be same.
Absolutely.
So it places you on a pedestal, to say the least, and it induces an immense amount of responsibility. And if you do that well, trust me, it will help you become a better human being. That is all. And you'll see a shift in yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? So spending time with your team, giving correct feedback at the right time. It will all not always be hunky-dory. We live in a world of deadlines. We live
Yeah.
in a world of deliverables. But how do you structure it with your team? Being
Okay.
structured is probably a very underrated skill. But unless you are structured, you will not be able to delegate very well.
Yeah.
Delegation is also an art. Delegation does not mean always forwarding emails.
Yeah.
What is the guidance that you're giving to them? Are you giving them feedback at the correct time? Are you understanding? Are you open to feedback yourself?
Absolutely.
If your team member tomorrow comes and tells you, what are your avenues where you have these heart-to-heart conversations with your team member? Do you feel that the team member is open enough for you? And I'll come back to the first point. Are you giving the psychological safety to your team? So the most successful teams in the world
Yeah.
have the highest amount of psychological safeties, and they make the most grievous mistakes.
Amazing. I guess she's having plethora of knowledge and would love to implement. So there's another word which we used to listen back in our college days, that's open door culture. And honestly, when I became a part of Geeks for Geeks, it's been a good number of years now, I actually experienced it. And which is till date one of the best thing which I would mention, even being an employee of Geeks for Geeks. So what's your opinion about open door culture? Is it just a word or does it have something to carry to?
It definitely has a lot to carry to. And I think we should evolve with age.
Okay.
Now, today's generation,
Yeah.
you have, 21 year, 22 years old, getting out of colleges, fresh, want to do something in life, full of energy, want to change the world, etc. Now, with those people, you cannot function in a way that used to happen 10 years, 20 years back, that people used to call sir, boss ko sir bolte the. That is something that many companies are doing away with.
Yeah.
And that's such a powerful thing to do, such a small but such a powerful thing to do, that, you can call your CEO by name, or you can call your boss, skip manager, anybody by name, right?
Yeah.
That to me is probably a very good example of an open door culture. A very good example for another open door culture is how accessible is the leadership to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can I walk in to discuss any of my ideas with the leadership? Now that also places an ownership on the employee. Now when I say walk in idea, aisa nahi hai ki, you'll go and just speak anything. You have to have that structure, etc. But overall, in the culture of things, in the scheme of things, does my company empower me?
Correct.
That I can, that my leadership is accessible to me without, getting intimidated, or without the fear of getting judged, that I might come across as dumb. That if I go to somebody so senior and speak this, what is it that they will think of me? No. The best of the ideas come from the people who are actually implementing it on the ground.
Yeah.
If you don't have that connect, as you grow up the hierarchy, it becomes increasingly difficult with your scale and scope of responsibility to get connected to the ground. And in no time, as companies scale, you will realize that when there are newer set of people who join, there are different personalities, there are different dynamics, politics, teams will get divided.
Correct.
Open door culture, that's the real test of open door culture. That, if you have that transparency is a very key word here. How are you communicating information? Is there any information asymmetry that, I have this access to information makes me more powerful in this ecosystem?
Yeah.
How is it that companies navigate all of this? And today's generation will not work on a sir ma'am culture.
Yeah.
They will not refrain from, putting their point of view. They are highly confident, highly informed. They are spoiled with options, I would say, which did not used to be the case probably even 5 years down the line. Things have changed drastically with the Instagram, with your LinkedIn and everything. The information is too much.
Correct.
Okay, and hence, and information is powerful. Okay, so today you cannot expect, especially for this population who are into tech and, just fresh out of college, that they will just respect you for your position.
Yeah.
They will not probably respect you for your position.
Yeah.
They will respect you for the knowledge and the skill that you bring. And that is increasingly important to hone those skills.
Yeah. Great. All right. So now moving on from the students, from a student's perspective or an undergrad's perspective or a fresher's perspective for that matter, moving on to for a professional, like a person who's there in this corporate structure for 1 or 2 years, how he or should navigate through a job switch in the current market scenario. Like if you could lay down a roadmap in a few minutes, a roadmap how to navigate through a job switch.
So, first of all, you should know what you want. I think that is where a lot of us go wrong, is that we don't know what we want. Okay? While it's very good to have an open mind, but you should really narrow down your searches.
Okay.
That probably these are the kind of companies I'm looking for. These are the kind of roles that I'm looking for. Then the next step is, how do I get access to those opportunities?
All right.
Now, the access to those opportunities typically will come from 3 to 4 platforms.
Okay.
One is referral, very, very powerful, that you know
Absolutely.
somebody within the company that you want to, you know that there is a position, ask that person to refer to you.
Correct.
Your high chances that your CV will reach the right person,
Yeah.
maybe the hiring manager or the recruiter. Second way of channeling a job search probably is then applying, that you apply on LinkedIn or you apply on whatever are your job portals, your Naukri, IIM Jobs, etc. And then you wait for a revert from the
Correct.
recruiter, right?
Correct.
Here also, I suggest companies also have different platforms by which they want to engage with the candidate. Okay?
Okay.
Many a times it's not just shortlisting of CVs. There are platforms where you can engage with the companies, maybe through somebody who's already within that organization, and you need not always go asking for a job. Any exploratory conversation that
All right.
you want to have with the recruiter, probably the crack here would be a lot of recruiters, you will not get replies from recruiters.
Correct.
You will not have, you will not have any status update on your application. It's frustrating. It's a time-consuming process.
Absolutely.
I'm fed up with my current company. I really want to go,
Yeah.
but I'm not getting any calls.
Yeah.
So your CV, again, coming back to the first point, your CV should be very relevant to the position that you are applying. Explore your community. Explore people that you're connected to on LinkedIn. Explore people that are there in your network, through your friends, college, whatever, and approach them that you want to probably apply for a role. But then again, you have to make them interested in your profile. So that should be the kind of conversation that you should probably have, that why should that person invest in referring you, right? So at every step, you have to make sure that who's the person you're talking to and how is it that will bring you one step closer to that process,
Correct.
right? So one is, of course, you narrow down, you start applying, you start networking. I think a very underrated thing right now is writing on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Posting on LinkedIn.
Try to build your content on LinkedIn. That gets eyeballs of recruiters. LinkedIn is increasingly coming out to be a very, very successful job search platform, right?
Yeah.
So writing on LinkedIn, content creation might not be everybody's cup of tea and does not have to be very fancy.
Correct.
But at least start with something specifically if you're looking for in a job market.
Okay.
Next step is be very, very prepared for the interview. Like I said, just once you have that opportunity, getting out the opportunity itself is very tough. Once you have that opportunity, you have to be sure that you are 100% prepared for that. And hence, how do you prepare for your interviews? What is the kind of research? Read about interview experiences of people. Talk to people who have given those interviews.
All right.
It's a time-consuming process and you'll have to be invested in it. Specifically in today's day and age, getting discovered is a thing. What are the things which help you get discovered easily? Think on those lines.
So as mentioned by you, the networking holds a very important spot in a professional's career, right? All right. So coming back to the students again, and I believe much of our audience would be interested in this question about the internships. So what is the scenario of internships and how, a student can bag a good opportunity into a tech giant?
So internship, what are the channels of internship? Typically 2-3 channels. Either the company comes to your campus and they open slots, people apply, they interview and they get the internship. Second is offline internships that, you do not have companies typically coming, but you, again, through your network, referrals, there are portals like Internshala, there are many other portals. You go and apply for internship and then you get shortlisted. Internship is a shorter duration. Okay. Yeah. From a company standpoint, it's a period in which the company and the student evaluates whether they are fit for each other. So an elongated courtship, going on to my previous point, right?
Yeah.
So typically for internship, the interview process per se or, any criterias that you use for interview that will not change.
Okay.
Whatever we covered on how do you discover a good company, what is it, the CV preparation, interview preparation, all that will remain the same. What will probably change here, and which is the most important part, is how do you make an impact in a short duration of time.
All right.
So that, if you are wanting a pre-placement offer or you are wanting to be with that company for a long time, what is it that you do in that limited amount of time?
Correct.
Okay? So probably I'll focus my answer more on a student's journey after he lands up in a good internship place where he really wants to convert into a full-time. First is understand your project.
Yeah.
Understand the problem statement that has been given to you. Don't jump to solutions. Okay?
All right.
Again, find the problem, diagnose the as a state.
Yeah.
If the solutions were so commonsensical, people would have done it by now. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What is the fresh perspective that you're bringing in? Second is talk to as many people as possible.
Certainly.
No question is a dumb question. Typically, people are interested in, telling you more about their work. Everybody gets excited, when you talk to them about what they are doing. Really.
Yeah.
Talk to as many people as possible within the organization. Network. And network not with a objective of getting something out.
Correct.
Just generally talking about what that person does. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to as many people as you can.
Okay.
Third probably would be, how do you, in your reviews that you have, how do you ask the right questions? Did you use the support systems that were available to you? Your mentor, your buddy, manager, I don't know, different organizations have different names for this.
Correct.
Did you use that enough? I have seen students who come for 2 months internship, पूरे ऑफिस में किसी को नहीं पता चलता है कि वो दौड़ने के लिए भी आए थे, क्या करके गए. Be vocal about your work. Take inputs from people on how is it that you can make your project better.
Yeah.
Don't restrict. Third important point, don't restrict yourself to the project.
Okay.
Get to know about the company. That is where, you assess the culture. That is where you realize whether you are a good fit for that organization or not. And then whatever you have done, how do you present it in a good format? How do you present it to somebody who has not been typically a part of your project? The person who will decide whether you will get a PPO or not, in all probability will not be the person who has seen you for 2 months.
Seen you working, yeah.
How do you communicate your message, your the depth that you have done in your work in the best possible form?
Absolutely.
So these are the things that you should probably take care of.
So I guess it's a solid piece of advice for the students who are, looking out for any kind of internships this summer. So that'll be all for today. Thank you so much, Sneh, for sharing your experience with us and sharing your amazing insights with our learners. And hope to see you soon on this podcast again.
Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed being here.
Likewise.
I hope that people are at least able to get something from this podcast and would be happy to help.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for our listeners, thanks for tuning in and make sure to return for more such episodes on navigating the tech industry. Until then, take care.